The British public is becoming increasingly sceptical of what's supposed to be the Prime Minister's questions, while Prime Minister Starmer rarely ever answers directly. When he does respond, it's usually just a string of pre-rehearsed platitudes. In today's video, once again, Starmer makes a fool of himself awkwardly dodging questions at PMQs. We'll break down this situation and highlight the latest headlines from across the country. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates on UK politics.
Mr. Speaker, even he has to admit that they fiddled the fiscal rules. The OBR has actually said that they don't recognise where the additional growth is going to come from. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, the rise in employers' national insurance is going to be a disaster for small businesses around the country. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you about Kelly. For over 20 years, Kelly has run an after-school club business supporting 500 children and families in her borough. In 2024, her national insurance cost was about £10,000. In April, this will rise to £26,000. That is a 150% increase in costs from the budget alone. What is the Prime Minister's message to Kelly and the 500 families her small business supports if it goes under?
I would say this to Kelly. We inherited a very badly damaged... We inherited a 22 billion black hole, and we were not prepared to continue with the fiction. We stabilised...
Oh, Ms Lopez, I'm sure I couldn't expect better from you as a PBS as well, Prime Minister.
I would say to Kelly, we are fixing the mess that we were left. We're investing in the future of our country. I would also say to her that the Leader of the Opposition, week 2, wants all the benefits from the budget, but has no way of saying how she's going to pay for it. Same old mistake over and over again.
Mr. Speaker, he has nothing to offer except platitudes. And the fact is that they do not know what they're doing. Their ideological budget was designed to milk the private sector and hope nobody would notice. Now his cabinet ministers are all queuing up for public sector bailouts to his tax mess. If he is going to bail out the public sector, then can he tell us this? Does he think it is appropriate, as the Ministry for Housing has done, to approve a 4-day week for councils that is not flexible working, but is actually part-time work for full-time pay?
Questions based on what we're actually doing are usually better than fantasy questions made up. Mr. Speaker, what did they deliver in 14 years? Low growth, stagnant economy, a disastrous mini-budget, a £22 billion pack hole, and now she wants to give me advice on running the economy. I don't want to be rude, but no thank you.
In another piece of unfortunate news, freedom of speech, a cornerstone of liberty and democracy, is facing significant challenges in the UK. Under Starmer's leadership, Britain has lost the image of a free country, now bearing resemblance to a dystopia straight from Orwell's writings. If we don't speak out now, the future may well witness silence being imposed across society. The story of Allison Pearson, a respected journalist from The Telegraph serves as a clear example of this reality. Early on a Sunday morning, police arrived at her home to investigate a year-old social media post. Wearing her dressing gown, she was given no details about the post's content or the identity of her accuser. This reflects an increasingly unhinged system, blindly following rigid procedures with little regard for individual freedoms. Pearson's post coincided with the recent Hamas attacks, where she vocally condemned anti-Semitic behaviour. Yet, instead of protection, she faced an investigation revealing the breakdown of justice. While police scour through old tweets, crimes like car and phone theft go unaddressed, even when clear evidence exists. This exposes the flawed priorities in today's justice system. Meanwhile, figures like BBC's Hugh Edwards are exempt from investigation, even as violence and theft are rampant, fueling public dissatisfaction. Authorities seem more intent on suppressing dissent than tackling actual crime. This is a concerning sign of authoritarian overreach by elitist forces who scorn free speech, normalising the suppression of differing voices. A fundamental principle of a free society is that governments must not intimidate journalists. When journalists are suppressed, ordinary citizens are more vulnerable to harm. This isn't only a media issue, but a basic right for every British citizen to express their views without fear of retaliation. Freedom of speech isn't just a legal matter. It requires a culture that embraces diversity of opinion and respects each person's right to speak. Unlike in the US, where censorship laws were relaxed following Trump's election and Elon Musk's acquisition of the social network X, the UK is sinking deeper into speech restrictions. Laws against malice and support for banned terrorist organisations are being weaponised to control public opinion. Why should we fear opposing viewpoints when debate and dialogue are meant to underpin a democratic society? Under Tony Blair and now Keir Starmer, human rights efforts have proved insufficient to protect freedom of speech. The concept of non-crime hate incidents, NCHI, has surfaced, legitimised without any legislative process. This has led to many being effectively convicted without fair trial. Those marked by NCHI face employment issues, often without even knowing they've been flagged. More troublingly, police refuse to reveal Pearson's accuser's identity, labelling them a victim. This contradicts the principle of innocence until proven guilty. While genuine victims deserve protection, not all complaints should be presumed valid. This sets a dangerous precedent where an anonymous accusation can spark a full-scale investigation, mirroring tactics used by authoritarian regimes to censor dissent. The phrase "justice delayed is justice denied" has lost its meaning when Pearson is investigated for a year-old post accused of racial hatred. This scene resembles a totalitarian regime where a vague complaint is enough to trigger invasive scrutiny and censorship. The UK, once a beacon of freedom, now faces rising authoritarianism and censorship. If we don't speak out and resist, the Britain we love will soon disappear, replaced by a stifled society controlled by new tyrants. Those who will go to any lengths to retain power, silencing dissent and erasing the values that define a free society. In a related development, a police officer in Gloucestershire has been arrested on suspicion of connections and support for the Palestinian terrorist group Hamas. The arrest was carried out by counter-terrorism forces, highlighting the gravity of a law enforcement officer allegedly involved with an international terrorist organisation. Officers from the Southwest Counter-Terrorism Force conducted a raid on a Gloucestershire property, searching several locations and vehicles in the area to collect evidence for the investigation. Following the arrest, the police officer was immediately transferred to a holding facility outside Gloucestershire for isolation and information control. Assistant Chief Constable Arman Matheson of the Gloucestershire Police Force stated that the search operation aimed to seize digital devices potentially containing vital information for further analysis. He affirmed that the suspicion of an active duty officer being involved in supporting a terrorist organisation was deeply shocking, undoubtedly undermining public trust and sparking concerns within the local police force. The arrest was conducted to ensure a swift, objective and accurate investigation to clarify the current suspicions. At this stage, no definitive conclusions regarding criminal conduct have been drawn. However, under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act, any action displaying support or collusion with a terrorist group is a legal violation. Offenders may face up to 14 years in prison and/or substantial fines. What do people think about the issues we have discussed in today's video? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest political developments in the UK. Thank you all and see you in the next videos.